In this lecture, we're going to talk about marketing research. Marketing research consists of a set of techniques and principles for systematically collecting, recoding, analyzing, and interpreting data. This is done in order to help decision makers who are involved in marketing goods, services, or ideas. The marketing research function basically links firms and organizations to their customers through data. By collecting data from customers, firms can better deliver products and services designed to meet their needs. The marketing research process consists of 5 steps. Although we present the stages of the marketing research process in a step-by-step progression, of course, research does not always or even usually happen that way. So research goes back and forth from one step to another as need arises. In step 1, you determine whether to conduct research. You answer 2 questions: what and how. In step 2, researchers identify the type of data needed and determine the type of research necessary to collect it. The objectives of the project drive the type of data that is needed. In step 3, after answering why and how, researchers must then determine whether they can find the data. Step 4, analyzing and interpreting the data. This should be both thorough and methodical. To generate meaningful information, researchers analyze and make use of the collected data. In this context, data can be defined as raw numbers or other factual information that on their own have limited value to marketers. However, when the data is interpreted, they become information, which results from organizing, analyzing, and interpreting the data and putting them into a form that is useful to marketing decision makers. In step 5, a typical marketing research report would start with a 2-page executive summary, and this would highlight the objectives of the study, methodology, and the key insights. The body of the report would go through the objectives of the study, issues examined, methodology, analysis and results, insights, and managerial implications. Secondary data refers to data that is collected by someone other than the primary user. Common sources of secondary data for social science include censuses, information collected by government departments, organizational records, and data that was originally collected for other research purposes. Secondary data are plentiful and free, whereas the syndicated data generally are more detailed but can be very costly. Now, we may not remember a time before grocery stores used scanners, but using scanners was really a game changer for marketers. Some of the data that they collected can immediately track the impact of any price or promotional adjustments just by seeing their sales. In recent years, response rates to marketing research surveys have declined, which has increased usage of research panels. Every day, consumers provide wide-ranging data that get stored in increasingly large databases. In the United States, firms use opt-out programs, so when consumers fill out a registration form or application, the firm automatically has permission to market to that customer and share information with its partners, unless consumers explicitly revoke this permission. In contrast, the EU regulations state that customers must opt in order for them to use their information. So every time that you're signing up for a service or something, you kind of have to uncheck the button so that you don't get those promotional emails or that your data doesn't get shared. The field of marketing research has seen enormous changes in the last few years because of the increase in the amount of data to which retailers, services providers, and manufacturers now have access to, and also because of their ability to collect these data from transactions, customer relationship management systems, websites, and social media platforms that firms increasingly use to engage with their customers. The ease of collecting and storing the data is also something that's made it very, very easy for brands to have this information, and the computing ability that is easily available to manipulate data in real time. And also the access to in-house or available software to convert the data into valuable decision-making insights using analytic dashboards. To specify this explosion of data which firms have access to but cannot handle using conventional data management and data mining software, the term big data has arisen in the popular media. Because of this, fields like data science have become increasingly popular because there's so much information and so much data that companies and brands have, but they need more personnel, more people to know how to interpret this data, because the data in itself isn't enough if you don't have anyone to actually interpret this information and turn it into valuable insights. As its name implies, qualitative research uses broad, open-ended questions to understand the phenomenon of interest. Qualitative research is more informal than quantitative research methods and includes observation, following social media sites, in-depth interviews, and focus groups. Basically, qualitative data is data that is gathered in words and you have to kind of code it, and quantitative data is data that is a number, so it's kind of easier to understand. Once the firm has gained insight from doing qualitative research, it's likely to engage in quantitative research, which are structured responses that can be statistically tested. Quantitative research provides information needed to confirm insights and hypotheses generated via qualitative research or secondary data. Formal studies such as specific experiments or surveys, scanners, and data panel, or some combination of these, are quantitative in nature. Observation entails examining purchase and consumption behaviors through personal or video camera scrutiny or by tracking customer movements electronically as they move through a store. In some big research schools, they have an experimental, basically grocery store where they have cameras all over and they basically just video record and observe what students are shopping for. And what their behavior intentions are like, what their actual behavior is at this store. So any researcher that wants to do an experiment on food consumption or labeling can actually have like products placed there and see if it attracts the consumer and they actually purchase it. Social media sites are a booming source of data for marketers. Marketers have realized that social media can provide valuable information that could aid their marketing research and strategy endeavors. Particularly, blogs represent valuable sources of marketing research insights. Then the data gathered through the searches also undergo careful analyses. So are customer sentiments generally positive, negative, or neutral? Using a technique known as sentiment mining, firms collect consumer comments about companies and their products on social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, or online blogs. The data are then pair analyzed to distill customer attitudes and preferences for products and advertising campaigns. Sometimes they use this consumer sentiments to actually think of ideas for new products or innovations. And they can also kind of find out what's wrong with their existing product. In an in-depth interview, trained researchers ask questions and listen to and record the answers and then pose additional questions to clarify or expand on a particular issue. In-depth interviews provide insights that help managers better understand the nature of their industry, as well as important trends and consumer preferences, which can be invaluable for developing marketing strategies. But these interviews are relatively expensive and very time-consuming. In focus group interviews, a small group of people, usually like 8 to 12, come together for an intensive discussion about a particular topic. In particular, focus groups gather qualitative data about initial reactions to a new or existing product or service, options about different competitive offerings, or reactions to marketing stimuli, such as new ad campaign or point-of-purchase display materials. Survey research is the most common type of primary data collection. You've actually participated in this kind of survey research as a consumer, maybe by completing some surveys that are sent to you by brands, or even from completing some surveys from your marketing professors here. It's essentially a survey or a document that has a set of questions, and these questions are used to gather information about marketing decisions. A survey is a systematic means of collecting information from people using a questionnaire. Marketing research relies heavily on questionnaires, and questionnaire design is virtually an art form. Unstructured questions are open-ended and allow respondents to answer in their own words. Structured questions are closed-ended questions for which a discrete set of responses, alternatives, or specific answers is provided for respondents to evaluate. Web surveys have steadily grown as a percentage of all quantitative surveys. Online surveys have a lot to offer marketers with tight deadlines and small budgets. I personally use online surveys a lot using Amazon Mechanical Turk, and it's just a really easy and affordable way to collect data. And basically, when I put a study up, it's usually done within 2 hours and I get that data. So it's very efficient. Although now there's kind of what you call professional survey takers, so basically go and take so many surveys, and once you've taken that many surveys though, you kind of are able to determine some of the things of how you are structuring a survey, so it's just a little difficult to validate that information. Panel and scanner research can be either secondary or primary. An example of the use of a panel to collect primary data would be Walmart's subsidiary Asda, which uses an 18,000 customer panel called Pulse of the Nation to help determine which products to carry. Asda sends emails to each participant with product images and descriptions of potential new products, and then the customers' responses indicate whether they think each product should be carried in stores. And as an incentive to participate, ASA enters respondents automatically into a drawing for free prizes. A lottery is a usual way for data to be collected, but another incentive is to just pay a certain amount of cents per minute per survey. Experimental research is a type of conclusive and quantitative research that systematically manipulates one or more variables to determine which variables have a causal effect on another variable. A strong ethical orientation must be an integral part of a firm's marketing strategy and decision making. It is extremely important for marketers to adhere to ethical practices when conducting marketing research. Numerous codes of conduct written by various marketing research societies all reinforce the duty of researchers to respect the rights of the subjects in the course of their research. So the bottom line is that marketing research should be used only to produce unbiased, factual information. All of the research that is done with consumers need to adhere to IRB protocols, and this stands for Internal Review Board. This was set in place because there was a lot of unethical research that was being done in the 50s, in the 40s, during the World War II, and in order to protect consumers, a series of laws were developed to make sure that consumers are aware of what they're signing up for, what the research is for, what are the expectations, what are the risks, what are the benefits of the research. Before you're even allowed to do any research, you're supposed to submit an IRB protocol to make sure that it adheres to ethical guidelines.